one of the things that we now need to pay some attention to is one of the drivers of implementation, from the standpoint of risk reduction and the effect of that risk reduction on the cost of operation. I'd like to introduce Captain George Pecky from AIG, who will represent the insurance industry here. Thank you.
First of all, bon appetit. It is indeed an honor if you're speaking in front of you, because I think this is one of the most relevant conferences I'm attending the whole year. Because I do believe that e-navigation is the future. Okay? It's a change, it's a concept to modify the way we are doing business in the shipping industry. But it should not only affect the shipping industry, but the whole navigable waters as well. And you see some statistics here. So we've seen so many iterations of a definition of e-navigation, and I took this one right here, okay? The concept of increasing safety and security for us insurers is fundamental relevance. But the organization of data and the from ship and onshore, ship to shore, shore to ship, okay, and better data exchange is of fundamental relevance. You know, sometimes I ask myself, why am I here? You know, an insurance person. But you know, I was introduced as a captain before being in insurance. I spent a lot of time at sea. Okay, and one day my wife decided that it was enough. And the Pilot Association of the Port of Buenos Aires at the time, because I didn't have a godfather, I wasn't allowed to get into that activity, okay? To all the exam, you know about all these stories, right? And so after doing intensive navigation in the area of the Port of Buenos Aires and Bahia Blanca, okay, they decided I was not, I didn't have the right godfather, so okay. So my wife said, you have to do something else, and there was an opportunity in insurance, and I said, what, insurance? Whenever they said, when I was a captain, whenever there was a surveyor on board, I was hiding somewhere in the best, okay? So, but the reality is that if you go back in time, okay, to that famous Lloyd's Cafe, okay, where these insurers were getting together for the first time, and it's the beginning of our industry as such, okay? These guys were mariners. Many of them very wealthy. Doesn't happen nowadays, okay? But these mariners were willing to take somebody else's risk. Why? Because they knew risk. And I personally believe that we have lost that in our industry, in the insurance industry. Okay, that sense of knowing risk. I think I'm probably an example of somebody that knows a little bit of risk, okay, that has been brought into this industry. And we're seeing much more of that. And perhaps that's the reason why I'm today speaking to you, right? Because that connection between risk and insurance that was lost at one point. It was all about numbers and actuarial reviews, okay? Now we're starting to think in a different way, going back to the roots. So during the last 30 years, we have seen, you know, a lot of progress, okay? From the 1935, the radar first, 1960, the transit, okay? And I remember when I was sailing in the 80s, the captain wouldn't allow me to touch the transit. I was just for the captain, okay? I was his third mate or second mate. Don't even touch it, just for me. Who touched the transit? It was like a thing there. And it was all about the sextant, and I would say this multiple times in my presentation. I'm a little bit concerned of losing that aspect of the concept of, instead of watching out of the window, watching too much on the screen, okay? We saw that with the ARPA radar, okay? And we continue seeing that probably much more nowadays. So the three fundamental expected outcomes, okay? So navigation systems on board, integration of this, standardization, okay? The bad management of vessel traffic information ashore, and there's a lot of question marks on this, because in developed economies, we will see that this is going to happen. Probably Ayala will drive this very strongly. But how about ports in Africa, ports in developing countries in Latin America? What's going to happen over there? Okay, who's going to regulate that? Is Ayala going to be strong enough to regulate that in those developing economies? Okay, I'm quite concerned about that integration, that harmonization requirement that we are stating here. Okay, which is actually easy to say, but put that in practice in this world, okay, of an aging fleet that is growing in size, okay, and we're seeing that, you know, all ships still around. Okay, are those ship owners willing to invest in this technology and this concept? Well, we all know what we want to achieve in this industry, but fundamentally, essentially, it's about achieving efficiencies and reducing to an alarm level, to as low as reasonably possible level of the risk, okay? So, let me just take my notes here because the human element, and we hear about the human element many times today, okay, remains the most relevant factor in accidents nowadays, okay? And navigation errors continue to account for large losses. We recently, and I was talking today during lunch about the Costa Concordia, okay? And the question is, was that simply a navigational error, or was more into it? Okay? And it's not about pointing fingers, okay? It's about, we should ask ourselves as an industry, was that just the fault of the captain, or was it a little bit more than that? Okay? How about the technology? How about the integration of that bridge? How was that bridge working together? Okay? I have, my brother-in-law is a pilot in the rear plate, okay? And he entered that vessel in many occasions with probably the same crew that was during the accident. And he will tell me stories about it, okay? That deck crew, okay? So it's a lot into it. It's not just pointing the finger to the captain. I still believe that the most sophisticated aid to navigation is a human eye, and that's not going to change. Okay, we saw that today. We can enhance that, but the best and most accurate and sophisticated tool that we have is here. Okay, without glasses, but it's here.
Google Glass.
So, this talk talks to us about a couple of things here, right? You know, perhaps training requirements, fatigue, lookout versus looking at the screen, okay? The over-reliance of navigation or electronic aids to navigation. It talks actually about the human element. It talks about the human element. So let's see some statistics, okay? This is between 1998 to 2012. This is factual information, okay? And as you can see, we haven't seen a fundamental improvement since 1998. And technology has improved substantially. So that is telling me that what you're doing is very relevant. Because that technology is there, but the integration perhaps, the training, the enhancement is not there. Okay, we still see a lot of groundings. These are big numbers. Okay, this is the source of this information is the Lloyd's Maritime Intelligence Unit. So this represents probably all the accidents on vessels above 500 gross tonnage. So multiplicity of causes may have participated in this to happen, but the reality is that lack of training and reliance on electronics may have been a big contributor to this situation. And I'm not including here, and I'm just showing you the tip of the iceberg of the statistical information of the Lloyd's, okay? The impact on liabilities that this may have, or on pollution, okay, that this may have. Because many of these groundings ended up in big pollution accidents. Those were total losses, and here we're talking about, serious losses. And again, we see the same pattern. There's no improvement. There's no improvement. And this, unfortunately, is sad, because there's a lot of technology available out there. So again, I think the concept of lack of harmonization and integration is a key element. That's why I think this conference is so relevant. This initiative, the concept of e-navigation in itself is fundamental. It's fundamental. So the sea space, and it was mentioned by the cadet who spoke today, is shrinking rapidly. Okay, we're seeing these huge farms popping up in the northern sea, and it's been busy since long time ago. Okay, and now it's becoming more and more busy. I remember my first passage to the North Sea. I was a third mate, first trip. And my knees were trembling now. And the captain went down, he left me alone, okay, intentionally of course, to have fun. And I was watching this, radar screen, all these dots, and he came saying, you have to use the 6 mile, don't use the 24-mile, because you're gonna get crazy, okay? So we are seeing also, this space being shared by leisure vessels. There's a lot of boats out there, fishing vessels. I wasn't here yesterday. I understand there was the issue with the fishing fleets was mentioned, okay? And we all have phased out when sailing, okay? And it's becoming more and more relevant. And it's not unusual to see in a very busy port, a small craft, So it's quite challenging, right? and this is a busy port. And the question that I ask myself is, you know, whenever we see a small aircraft in the air, that pilot has training, and is required every year to go out and sit for more training. When we see a boat like this one here, in the US, it's no requirement. Okay? So I wonder, should, you know, AIS have a specific dedicated chapter, okay, that is at least a requirement for every single small craft to have some sort of a signal for the vessel to be able to see it, especially in a busy harbor when this maneuver is maneuvering, you know. I mean, you see the background there. We're not talking about offshore. So if we see a little bit of the statistical information on the fleet out there, right? We see that from 2000 through 2013, the fleet has almost grown 10,000 vessels. That represents about 50%. Okay, but more frightening is the fact you see those lines there. Those are showing deliveries and scrapping. Okay, so deliveries are dropping, scrapping is dropping. That means, you know, the fleet is aging. So we have a bigger fleet out there, and the age is going up, and that is quite frightening. Because I wonder, for the owner of a very old vessel, okay, what's the motivation to invest money in technology or training their crews, okay? And also, the size of the vessels. These are, this comes from C4, Central Union for Miniature Underwriters. Is fundamentally European information. But we can see the evolution on vessels over $100 million in value, okay? And the red section is from 100 million to $300 million in value. So it's growing. And crew requirements are dropping, okay? We all know, for example, the very large, I want to say any brand, any company name here, but very large container vessels, they're crew for 15, 16 crew members, okay? And it's difficult. It's difficult. So, reducing the navigation error. So this harmonization that I'm talking about is critical to the success of the in-navigation concept. You have to aid rather than hinder the effect of this initiative. So let's talk a little bit about the tendency generally is, okay, but you insurers, you are making so much money, right? And here we see, you know, we may not know, but there's an element that is critical to insurance. It's called loss ratio, which is the ratio between the paid claims, okay, and the earned premium. And if that is above 65%, you're losing money. So the industry has been losing money on hull machinery, not P&I, hull machinery, for the last 17 years. Okay, for the last 17 years. And most of these is caused by large losses. Okay, for these collisions, groundings, and other issues, right? But it's important for you to understand that we're not making money with the hull machinery industry. It's very challenging. Okay, and this is the average of the whole industry. The Costa Concordia had a tremendous effect, as you can see. Okay, but despite the Costa Concordia, we need need to improve. We need to improve this industry. We need to improve it. So here we see what we call the ultimate loss ratio, okay, which is that is considering what those claims that will come in the future on a specific policy, right? And it goes even higher, to the level of 80%, 90% loss ratio, completely unacceptable. We cannot, the company is pulling out of the business, literally. And this is not talking about the P&I, that includes the liability coverage, okay? They're really struggling big time. And the calls, as they call it, the premium pays, okay, the calls are going up and up. Okay? So we really, as a company, as an industry, we really want to improve this scenario. So what are I think was the idea to transmit to you, okay, what are the insurance market concerns at the moment, right, regarding what's going on, okay, and the e-navigation initiative. And over-reliance on electronic means of navigation is the first one, okay. Standardization aboard and ashore, is it going to happen? Is this feasible? Okay, to what extent? Incompatibility between vessels and an increased unnecessary level of complexity to the deck officer. More time spent looking at the screen rather than looking through the window. Use of e-navigation without proper training of all stakeholders, which is what I said at the beginning. Okay, are we really going to see in developing countries that level of communication that we are talking about here? Harmonization between vessel and shore. GPS as the unique or the main source of positioning. I know you are talking about alternative means of positioning, but the reality is it going to happen? Is it really going to happen? Because everything's centered into that position that we hold. If we don't have, because it's taken, we have a big problem. Okay? And implementation on a very aged vessel fleet. Here you see the average age of the world fleet from 2000 to 2013 is increasing. Okay, we see an improvement on bulkers thanks to China. Okay, that pushed that big time. But besides that, it's deteriorating. It's increasing, and it goes way above the life expectancy of a vessel by design. So we are also concerned about this transitional period between what we're doing today and the day that the e-navigation concept is actually implemented. Okay. However, I believe it's going to be a constant evolution, but at least the initial transitional process may be concerning. So on the implementation plan, what's going to be the regulatory framework? What's going to be the role of the IMO? What are going to be the technical requirements for acceptance of equipment? Costa Concordia, okay? We hear about the training and the challenge for the maritime academies to introduce new syllabus, okay? It's easy to say, no, you have to do it. No, it's not that simple. It happens all over the world, and this is a problem, okay? It's not going to be that simple. And also, what's going to be the training for shore-based personnel? That's another challenge. I really trust in maritime academies. I'm not sure about the shore-based personnel, because maritime academies are extremely driven by IMO requirements. Shore-based abroad, you know, in developing countries, it's not going to be influenced. So, just to summarize, we believe in navigation, once implemented, we will have a substantial impact, bringing the risk to a level, especially on collisions and groundings, okay, and pollution potential, to a level that is much reasonable than the risk that we are facing right now. The industry is suffering. The insurance industry is suffering with hull machinery, and we really want to be part of this initiative. So, that's it from me, folks.
Anybody like to ask Becky any questions?
Tim, do you think that the insurance industry would, in terms of encouraging particularly the aging, the operators of the aging fleets, would give premium considerations for not just the implementation of parts and pieces, but perhaps even the larger extent, upgrading aging fleets into a fully integrated bridge as part of the NENAV piece? And have you looked at what levels of integration you would look at premium reductions in those terms?
I would put in terms of premium reductions, but I would put in terms of warranties in the policy. Okay? The requirement as an absolute warranty in the policy, I do believe that is something that we're going to start seeing.
Would you encourage as part of that, for example, combined coordinated bridge resource management type of training as a similar incentive?
Yes, the question is, we can say this, but we have to framework who's going to be coordinating this initiative, who's going to regulate this initiative. And that's the challenge. Because I can put a warranty, every business has to have exits. Okay. Let's use that as an example. But what kind of exits? Which, that's the challenge. And it has to be clearly defined.
And how is it integrated?
Yes.
At the minimum levels, or does it actually supporting that?
And in fact, I think that my participation in these events, like some other insurance executives, will help, develop perhaps a clause that's going to be on our policies.
You mentioned the gap between first world economies and developing economies, and how that may be an issue with electronic navigation. I'm sure, it's already an issue today, right, with terrestrial aids to navigation, with charting technologies, hydrographic surveys, tug assist, whatever. So it's still an issue now. How do you deal with that now, and how might that apply to the future from a risk management perspective?
So unfortunately, the way we deal with that now is very naive, okay? It's price-driven, and it's wrong. And we should be much more involved in defining clearly the requirements, because that will foster change and investment. But the problem is that today we just see a high price tag, and that doesn't help. So we have to take much more, proactive approach and help the industry change. And we have a little bit of power, because we pay all these big losses. So we have to use that power. My company has this concept of make the world a safer place, and it's real. Not just to make money. We do want to make money, don't get me wrong. But we really think we have, as a big company, we have an obligation with the industry. We have to try to help it change. And I think that if we continue the way we're doing things nowadays is not helpful at all to drive change.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about
about done with our lunch period, and we'll be heading back for final sessions. This will be the last session, the concurrent sessions, and then we'll meet back in RISA for the final plenary session. And that'll close the conference. So I'll see you all back in RISA or in impeachment. Thank you very much.